your mental health is showing. Did you know that minorities are less likely to receive mental health treatment, yet are more likely to experience severe mental health issues? This gap in experience and action really underscores the importance of addressing and prioritizing our mental well being, which is why I'm here today. My name is Amanda Fludd. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I am back for the summer with our evening tea. And today we're exploring the evolving role of therapy in our communities as we shift into Minority Mental Health Month. So, wherever you're listening, hit like or share now, especially if you value mental health. I think it's something we are talking about, but we definitely can continue to talk about. We've come a long way in recognizing how it's just as natural as our physical health, and it needs that sort of like priority as well, but it's definitely a work in progress. So, like I said, I am a licensed therapist, and I love seeing how far we've come around therapy, around mental health. It used to be like this service that was established for just like white folks, right? And like the old white person, no shade, y'all, with the glasses and just sitting by the couch. And, it's come a long way. And you can even see that for me, from my locks to my blazing hair color to my bright Afro Caribbean self. The face of therapy has changed. And I think that's such an important message for our community, for communities of color, because we need to know that there are more people out there that really understand your experience. Or that who really want to, right? And there's such a diverse mix of folks out there that there is no reason for you to be sitting at home suffering right now. Okay. So is it okay if we talk about that a little bit? I would love to get into the myths around therapy today, and I need your help. So can I get a yes from the congregation if that's okay? So if that's okay, if you drop a yes for me wherever you're seeing this. I really hope that today's conversation eases some of the initial fear about reaching out to someone, about asking for help. And I think sometimes we're just in our own headspace about like if this is a good space for us. Like, should I pursue it? What does it look like? Things like that. So I hope to answer some of those questions today. And if you have questions about therapy as I go along, please drop it. I'll come back, take a look, and respond to it for you. July is Minority Mental Health Month, and I think it's a great time to keep these conversations going. Okay. So before I keep going, though, let me check in with you. Drop a one for me if you want to be emotionally healthy. So if you're someone who prioritizes that, right? Or maybe you haven't thought about it, but in this moment you're like, yes, I want to be emotionally healthy. Drop a one for me in the chat. And I think it probably applies to more of you than you realize, right? So if you want your relationships to be healthy, you should be dropping that one. If you want your bank account to be healthy, your mind, your body, drop that one. The fact is, therapy really just gives you the skills to navigate all aspects of your life and all those components of you so that you can be healthy in all those areas, right? Like we even have financial therapists now, which I think is pretty dope, right? So statistically, what we know is by reducing your stress, if it's around stress around money, stress around family, stress around relationships, we reduce your risk of things like depression, suicide, high blood pressure, inflammatory diseases, cardiac issues, all of that. Because your emotional well-being entails what's happening in this mind, and the mind and body, they're communicating all the time. So if there's some distress happening here, a lot of times it'll show up in the body. And a lot of times we're really in tune to that because that's really what we've been conditioned to see. But even then, we'll sort of ignore it and put it off, right? And prime example, a lot of people will end up going to the emergency room because like they think they're having a heart attack, and rightfully so. Go get that thing checked out, honey. But a lot of times, like the racing heart, the like palpitations, just that like angst in your body, like, oh my God, something bad is gonna happen, the changes in your breathing, the sweaty palms, even though it mimics those symptoms, it's really a panic attack, which is really about anxiety and worry. So that's how intense it can be, where it can have these strong physical reactions for you as well. So this is why we talk about things like stress and helping you to manage that and giving you the tools to manage those things. Because if we can keep that at bay, we can keep the other physical disruptions that happens in your body. We can keep that down as well, right? And besides all of that, it just feels good to unload, and not just unload, but to have a place where you can find perspective, get insights, dismantle the traumatize, and have access to things that you really couldn't see before, right, in your life. And regardless of the circumstances, maybe you just didn't have good modeling for things like healthy communication, for things like releasing shame, for having difficult conversations. Like, this is the space to give that back to yourself, right? To relearn that and to get that. So your story going forward can look a lot different than what it looked like before. Okay. I was working with a male therapy clients, a male clients in therapy. And yeah, men do go to therapy. They are sipping these healing waters, honey. I work with all kind of men, black men, Jewish men, single, recovering from a breakup, in upper management, finding their way in life. They are on the couch. But a question that we were working with, and I was thinking about this for you guys, and I'll kind of adjust it just a little bit. It was, what do you need to unpack, leave behind, or take with you? And that's really a good space to start, sort of like putting things into containers, if you will, when it comes to your experiences. So you can really ask yourself, okay, what do I need help unpacking? And that could be the space that, I need to get someone to help me with these areas, because this has really been weighing on me. This is the thing that I've been holding. This is the baggage that I've been carrying. Okay. And I see how it impacts me, the loss of, my father, loss of a parent. I keep shutting down, and I see it's costing me at work. It's costing me in relationships. I'm having a hard time getting out. I've been really living like this best life, right? I'm not sure how to find my authentic self and trust her. All of those things, maybe those are things that you need to unpack. Okay. And then we shift to this space of not just unpacking now, but what are the things that you want to keep? So, okay. So now that I've unpacked it, actually, before I get to keep the things that I want to leave behind, right? So, what do I need to leave behind? So, this is where the skills would come in. So, I need to leave behind X. What or who would I like to be when it comes to moving forward? So, I've unpacked it. This is what it's like. I don't really want to keep carrying this anymore. How do I skillfully do that? How do I skillfully release those things, resolve those things? So now I can move into this next space, into this next container. Okay. And that's the take with me container. So now this is what I want to take with me. So I've unpacked it, kept some of it, resolved some of it, let go some of it. My bag is a whole lot lighter. Now this is what I want to continue with. Okay, this is what I want to move forward with, right? What do I need to take with me to be in that space of who I want to become and where I see my life? And what I know my potential is, all of those things. Okay. So I hope even that exercise is sort of helpful for you. And if it was, do me a favor and share this episode now. Invite someone to the conversation, or just like share your thoughts below, because we can only heal who we can reach. I'm gonna wait for you. Go share, honey. Find that button. All right. So let's get into some of the myths and kind of debunk that really quickly. So here's one of them that I hear. Therapy always involves a couch. I personally love when people walk into my office. It's such a dope space, and they're like, "Oh, there's a couch." And there is. And I know many people imagine therapy as like lying on the couch with that person there, like taking notes, right? I think we saw that image on like Insecure and things and shows like that. But while I do have a couch and great conversations happen there, a lot of magic happens even without one. Therapy is very flexible and can occur in various settings. You could be virtually, you can be, sitting outside on the patio, whatever your vibe is. That's private and confidential, of course, but it doesn't have to be a coach. Okay. Here's another one. Insurance is the only way to pay for therapy. I will say that insurance is the core way, the main way that people know, because they cover physical health services, they do cover mental health services. It does vary by insurances. Some really do have better coverage than others. So those are things that you do want to explore as you get into signing up for insurance. There's also options like EAP programs, employee assistance programs, services like Lyra, which is a form of EAP, and out of pocket is actually common. So, if you value things like getting your hair done, you pay out of pocket for that. Traveling, you pay out of pocket for that. Buying those grande lattes just about every day, consider those costs. and why it would be any different when it comes to funding something that you should value, such as your mental health. So while I think we do have a lot of work in the area of insurance and access, don't let that be a reason not to go, because we create opportunities and avenues and ways to do so many things in our lives where access looks really difficult or it's costly, this financial part to it. We figure out how to do it. So I think if we're in this mindset that this is just important to me, my well-being is important to me, learning how to function, show up better is important to me, you will find the way to really make that happen for you. So think about that. All right. Mental health at work is important, right? I think sometimes we think that it's not important at work, but that's a myth. I mean, think about it. You spend most of your day at work, and it does profoundly impact how you show up, your ability to work, your ability to lead, your ability to communicate, manage stress. For women of color, it's particularly challenging when we talk about things like microaggression, when you're the only one in the space as you move up to executive levels and what that looks like, the lack of support, all of that can make it harder to be present and productive. So I think because of all those reasons, it should be prioritized at work. It isn't something we just leave at home. We spend so much time there. It walks into the building with us and it affects how we navigate the space. And it's something that, because of that, it's something I know personally and intentionally, we do create a lot of trainings around, things like workplace stress, navigating trauma, how to lead effectively, how to be an emotional leader, how to manage self-care for organizations, things like that, because we can do this mental health thing creatively. It doesn't always have to be the couch. It doesn't always have to be you come at the end of your road when you're a hot mess. Like, let's think about how we can get the skills and support sooner, even in the workplace, because well-being is important just as much as productivity, and having like really strong workplace cultures and having the tools as well for work, right? All right, here's another one. Therapy is only for severe mental illness. So that kind of even goes along with just what I was saying. Like, no, it's for everybody and it's for everything. Therapy benefits anyone who just wants more support, who wants to grow, who wants a safe place to just process all the things that's going on in life, in the world, their thoughts, their emotions. People often stay in therapy because it is so valuable. It's such a good space to resolve things. So you can really have the life that you want, right? And move towards that. There's really a spectrum when it comes to mental illness, mental health, and mental illness, right? Our mental health, that's everybody. If you're breathing, it's you. But it varies, and we may go on different ends of the spectrum. I could be okay, and then I'm dealing with something very traumatic, and it may bump me on a different end, right? I can't get out of bed, I can't function. It's to the point that my reality is a little bit distorted, and I'm shifting on that spectrum. I sort of take care of myself, and I shift back, right? So it exists on a spectrum. It impacts everybody, and it isn't just about working with the severe end of things. It's about giving you the tools that you need to navigate life. I can't stress that enough. Right. Something else that comes up that I feel like is also a myth is seeking therapy is a sign of weakness. Not really. I think going to therapy and asking for help is probably one of the strongest things that you can do. I think acknowledging your struggles and working towards better mental health and well being requires immense strength and courage. And it's also a sign of your growth, of resilience, of self awareness, of saying, like, yeah, no, this is going to be different for me. And I can tell you, because of all the people that come to us and the folks that we work with, that people are coming. So don't let that thought get in your way, because while that thought is in your way, somebody else is calling to get that spot. Okay. So really think about that. What are the stories around getting help? And then I want you to step back and think about, like, where did that come from? Where did I see it specifically in the people? And check the level of hurt around that. What did it do for them to carry everybody else's burden? What did it do for them to hold everything in and push through? Were they really happy, right? What did the quality of their life actually look like? And is that what I want for myself? I will tell you that every successful person utilizes all of their resources to work effectively. Are you? And I will say, even if you're not alone, because the fact is, a lot of us wait and we suck it up and we put on this like facade that we're okay, and we're not. And I'll throw it out to you guys. Why do you think we wait so long to get help for emotional issues? Drop your thoughts to me in the chat. I think a huge part of it, of course, is stigma. That's why I'm here, to hopefully debunk some of that. It's also our ego, culturally, things like that too. We're also navigating a lot of pressures. Like we're in this world of like high pressure success and achievement, right? Even around like hustle, and I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs, and even in that space of growth and becoming and achieving and like being the one, and comparison, and dealing with everything that comes up with that. That's hard. There's a lot of self pressure to be well, do well, and have all the things. And we also don't want people to see us sad and struggling and hurt and vulnerable. We haven't quite figured out how to balance both, right? That I'm climbing and I'm having a hard day, and that's okay. Sometimes there's shame involved. We're worried about shame. We're worried about judgment, especially in communities of color. But man, how much is going wrong in that space of holding the silence, pushing, carrying, being the superwoman, right? Being the strong man, because I see y'all too. So how much is going wrong in that space? Holding on and pretending, it honestly, it comes at a cost, and it impacts various aspects of your life. Sometimes we get to this point of dealing with it creatively, right? Some of y'all have some really creative coping mechanisms. We've got probably more substance use now, right? Drinking, not getting as much sleep, networking, Netflix and chilling really late. We're just up, and I do that sometimes too. The overworking, all of that, like those are all signs that we should get help. Like we're not dealing with it in productive ways. We're trying to like ease it a little bit, and to convince ourselves that we're taking care of ourselves, that I deserve it. But the fact is, you really deserve to take care of you. The other thing that's really important to know about waiting, some illnesses like depression or early psychosis, the longer you take to get help, the worse and more consistent the episodes can become. And some things are just harder to treat down the line, as opposed to like if you got in there sooner, right? It's like if the house has a chip in the foundation, it's easier for us to fix that, as opposed to like we let it alone, weather, wear and tear, all of that. And now we've got this humongous problem to deal with, and it involves so much more complexity now. So it's better to take care of it when it's a little more smaller and manageable, when we see it, when we notice it. Okay. And last, what I'll say is like therapy has evolved so much. We have so many creative approaches, and we're trying to make it appropriate for us as people, for us culturally. There's like decolonized therapy, which focuses on dismantling oppressive systems and centering on marginalized experiences. There are therapists in space, pop EMDR, trap yoga, movement, prayer. We're even training barbers to provide support, right? So it's become a little bit more commonplace, and I'll just say commonplace. And I think we are now more comfortable, even as professionals, as therapists, bringing more of ourselves to the table, because we see the value of that. So, I hope that you can see that too, and can find your reflection in some of that, and decide to connect with somebody, right? Um, so nowadays you can find a therapist that not just looks like you, but one that suits you, someone that suits you. Sometimes it's hard to find, because the reality is it's not always easy to find a quality therapist and one of color. There's not that many clinicians of color. Some of us are in very small circles, so it looks that way, but we're very small circles. Right? So be patient with that process and keep looking, and also be flexible. Sometimes parts of them may suit you, maybe not all of it, but you just want to be in a space that you can feel comfortable, you can feel heard, you can get to that place of just honest communication and bringing your full self into the experience, because that's important in the healing space. Okay. All right. So I think I've talked long enough. So hopefully all of that was helpful. And what I'll end with, I will give you this tool to walk away with, just the power of your breath, because if you're with me, you have that. And your breath is just powerful. So I'm going to invite you to use that, to activate that. And you can use this whenever, when you're stressed out, when you're stuck in traffic, when you just need a moment. Simply take a big breath in through your nose. Ready? Breathe in. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Release through your mouth. Hold. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go back in. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. Hold that breath. Two, three, four. Good. Out through your mouth. Really push it out, push it out, push it out, push it out. Two, three, four. Good. Hold at that bottom before you breathe in again. Two, three, four. Good. One more time. Breathe in. Shoulders up. Hold. Let it go. Ah, beautiful. So thank you all so much for joining me on this conversation. Again, I hope it was helpful as we sort of just talk about mental health and different ways to look at it. And I hope you consider therapy. And if you have been there before and you need to go back, do that, right? If you know you're in a position of like, oh, I want to bring more skills into my space and support my team, my organizations, do that. If it's just I've never been there and it's like, I never even knew there was so many, like a variety when it comes to therapy. Like, look into it. And if you have questions, reach out and ask. Minority Mental Health Month is important because we just want to lift the veil to something that can feel so far away and like taboo. It's not. So many people are taking advantage of it. And maybe now it is your time to do so. My name is Amanda Fludd. It's such a pleasure connecting. See you soon.